Hidden reality revealed. Conservative MP uncovers Mark Carney's troubling scandal. In the wake of Canada's 2025 federal election, a significant controversy has emerged surrounding Prime Minister Mark Carney's handling of retaliatory tariffs during the campaign period. The issue centers on the government's decision to suspend certain tariffs without public disclosure, raising questions about transparency and trust. During the election campaign, the Liberal government, under Carney's leadership, emphasized its commitment to counteracting foreign tariffs to protect Canadian jobs and industries. However, it was later revealed that on April 16th, just a day before a nationally televised leaders' debate, the cabinet approved the suspension of specific retaliatory tariffs. This decision was not publicly disclosed until May 7th, after the election had concluded. The timing of this move, coinciding with high-level discussions between Canadian and foreign officials, has led to scrutiny over the motivations and the lack of transparency in the process. Opposition parties, particularly the Conservatives led by Pierre Poilievre, have criticized the government's actions, labeling them as a breach of public trust. Poilievre argued that voters were misled about the government's actual trade policy and its ability to safeguard Canada's economic interests. He emphasized the importance of transparent communication, especially on critical issues like trade relations, which have direct impacts on Canadian businesses and workers. The controversy has intensified calls for greater oversight and accountability in the government's decision-making processes. Critics argue that the lack of disclosure regarding the suspension of tariffs deprived voters of essential information needed to make informed choices during the election. The abrupt and undisclosed removal of retaliatory tariffs had tangible effects on various sectors of the Canadian economy. Businesses and workers, operating under the assumption that the tariffs would remain in place, made strategic decisions accordingly. The sudden policy shift disrupted market conditions and pricing structures, leading to economic consequences for some industries. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem highlighted the potential for weakened economic growth if trade conflicts are not resolved swiftly. He noted that ongoing trade tensions could further dampen consumer spending and business investment, underscoring the urgency of transparent and effective policy measures. While the government's decision to suspend certain tariffs may have been influenced by diplomatic considerations, the lack of public disclosure has raised concerns about the balance between international negotiations and domestic transparency. As Canada navigates complex trade relationships, particularly with major partners, the importance of clear and honest communication with the public becomes paramount. Moving forward, the situation serves as a reminder of the need for governments to uphold standards of openness and accountability. Canadians affected by trade policies deserve transparency regarding decisions that impact their livelihoods, and political leaders are expected to maintain public trust through honest discourse. Prime Minister Mark Carney's administration has defended its actions, stating that the suspension of tariffs was a strategic decision aimed at de-escalating trade tensions and protecting the broader economy. Officials argue that the timing of the announcement was aligned with ongoing diplomatic efforts and that the move was in Canada's best interest. Despite these explanations, the controversy has sparked a broader debate about the role of transparency in governance. Political analysts suggest that the incident could have long-term implications for public trust in government institutions and the perceived integrity of electoral processes. The situation has also highlighted the challenges of managing complex trade relationships in a rapidly changing global economic landscape. As Canada seeks to diversify its trade partnerships and reduce reliance on any single market, policymakers face the task of balancing strategic interests with the need for domestic accountability. In response to the controversy, opposition parties have called for a parliamentary inquiry into the decision-making process behind the tariff suspension. They argue that a thorough investigation is necessary to ensure that similar situations are handled with greater transparency in the future. Public opinion on the issue remains divided. Some Canadians express concern over the lack of transparency, while others believe that the government's actions were justified given the complex nature of international trade negotiations. The debate underscores the importance of clear communication between government officials and the public. As the government moves forward, it faces the challenge of rebuilding public trust and demonstrating a commitment to transparency. This incident serves as a case study in the importance of open governance and the potential consequences of perceived missteps in communication. Ultimately, the controversy surrounding the suspension of retaliatory tariffs during the election campaign underscores the delicate balance between strategic decision-making and the imperative of maintaining public trust. As Canada continues to navigate complex economic and political landscapes, the principles of transparency and accountability remain central to effective governance. Canada stands at a pivotal moment, grappling with a range of political and economic challenges that have intensified under the leadership of Prime Minister Mark Carney. As the newly appointed leader of the Liberal Party, Carney is tasked with navigating a landscape marked by public dissatisfaction and systemic failures. Recent data from Statistics Canada underscores these failures, revealing a growing sentiment among citizens that government policies are driven by elite interests rather than the needs of everyday Canadians. This discontent is increasingly evident as voters express frustration over ineffective spending and lack of accountability. One of the most pressing dilemmas facing the government is the future of struggling institutions like Canada Post. The question is whether to continue subsidizing these entities or invest billions in restructuring and compensating workers. This choice not only reflects concerns about fiscal responsibility, but also about the broader implications for employment and service delivery. Critics argue that under Carney's leadership, the government has failed to present a clear, effective strategy to address these institutions' challenges, leaving many Canadians feeling neglected and overlooked. The erosion of public trust in government institutions is profoundly concerning. The term far-right has become a blanket label that often dismisses valid criticisms of government policies. Individuals who voice concerns about economic decline or government mismanagement are frequently labeled as extremists, even as their warnings resonate with a disillusioned public.